There is a new universal TTRPG system being born right now, and you can be a part of it. It's called Heroes and Hardships by professional game designer Jason Duff, head developer of Earl of Fife games, and it is launching on Kickstarter now. It was nominated for Most Anticipated Game of 2022 by nworld.org. In today's paid Kickstarter preview, I am just going to be able to give you an overview of the system and what makes it special. If you want all those juicy little details, use that link in the corner up there or in the doohickey down below me to go check out the official Kickstarter page to learn more. First of all, what do I mean by a universal system? Heroes and Hardships has been designed to accommodate any setting, from classic fantasy to grim 1920s noir to modern-day superheroes to far future space opera. You can learn one system and it has enough flexibility to allow you to switch up your setting and mood from campaign to campaign. Let me give you the highlights before we dive into some of the nitty-gritty, and feel free to check out the segmented timeline below me to jump around to the parts of the system that most intrigue you. So, Heroes and Hardships is a D10 roll and keep dice pool system. So all you need is a pile of D10s, and I'll show you exactly how that works in just a bit. There are 3 different power levels, so you can have a game rooted in gritty realism or fantastical might. Combat is completely redone using an action point system instead of the usual combat rounds, giving you a new level of strategy and making every choice in combat that much more meaningful. Character creation is rich and varied with abilities, skills, and ancestry traits. There are no classes, so you can make a character that's totally unique, fitting your character concept. To that end, you can use a point-buy system to build just a character you want, or you can let fate take the wheel with random attribute generation. There is a chapter for rules on vehicles and vehicle combat. There's loads of equipment and armor and weapons, including crafting rules. There are 2 different magic systems that you can use. Traditional magic, which is what you think about in most games that we play. Wizards and sorcerers slinging fireballs, and clerics using divine magics to keep their companions alive. But they also have a system for superpowers. If you want to have a character who's more akin to Spider-Man or Sailor Moon or the Martian Manhunter than Gandalf, Harry Potter, and Willow Rosenberg. You also, of course, get a bestiary with a huge variety of potential adversaries and lots of optional rules to customize your game to the stories you want to tell. I think the best place to start is by looking at the character sheet, which is already fully implemented on Roll20, by the way, if you want to go and play it with it yourself right now. There's also a free 96-page quick start guide if you want to really dig into all these details, because I'm only going to be able to hit the highlights with you here. This is the character sheet for Aliskander, human bodyguard, whom you can meet in the free Heroes and Hardships adventure. Now, at a high level, your character is defined with attribute values. Attributes are divided into 3 categories: physical, mental, and social, with 4 attributes each. There's also an optional 13th unclassified attribute called Fate, which can be used for magic or luck or whatever your GM thinks will fit their particular setting. Your physical attributes are strength, agility, dexterity, and endurance. Your mental attributes are intelligence, knowledge, senses, and willpower. And your social ones are presence, empathy, communication, and influence. And each of those attributes has a number of skills that you can learn. For example, dexterity has bows, crossbows, guns, heavy weapons, shields, short blades, spears, swords, thievery, and thrown. Empathy has animal handling, essence, which is used in magic, read person, and streetwise. So you're going to have a score in each attribute and a rank in each skill. And there's a lot of skills, so for most of them, you're probably going to have a rank of 0. But if we scroll down on Aliskander's sheet here, we can see that his list of trained skills includes athletics, axes, dodge, ride, and more. And here are the basics of the D10 system here. For most every skill check, you'll roll a number of D10s equal to your skill ranks plus the corresponding attribute score of that skill. So let's say that Aliskander is trying to scale a tower wall to reach an open window up top. The Game Master calls for an athletics check. He has a skill rank of 3 for athletics, and the corresponding attribute is strength, and his strength score is 4. So he gets to roll 7d10, which is just the skill rank of 3 added to the attribute score of 4. When you roll, you get to keep a number of dice equal to your attribute score, so he'll get to keep the highest 4 dice. The Game Master sets the target number, or TN, of the check. Basically, the difficulty class, and it'll depend on the challenge level of the feat attempted and the power level of the overall game. In a power level 2 game, a challenging target number would be 21, and there are charts in the book to help you determine the proper target number for your game. So, the sum of Aliskander's top 4 of those 7 dice would need to equal or exceed 21 in order to succeed in climbing that wall. Now, that's just the basics. You'll also run into things like penalties, which might, for example, subtract 3 from your total sum due to an injury you sustained. And you might also get benefits or hardships. Maybe another character casts a spell to aid him, granting him a stronger grip and giving him a benefit die, which is an extra die that he can roll, though he can still only keep 4 of those dice. And maybe he was wounded in the shoulder during that last combat encounter, giving him a hardship and adding a penalty die, which is another d10 rolled by either the player or the game master and added to the skill check's difficulty. Now, I'm leaving the best part for last. These dice, when you roll them, they can explode. Not like literally explode, but that would be amazing too. No, if you've never heard of exploding dice before, it means that if you roll a 10 on your d10, you get to keep that 10 and then roll that die again and add that number to the result. So let's say you get to roll 2 dice on a skill check. You're not really too likely to succeed, especially if that target number is like 21. But let's say you roll a 4 and a 10. You get to roll that 10 again. And let's say it rolls another 10. Heck yeah, it explodes again. Roll that sucker and say you get a 3. Great. Your result for that check is 4 plus 10 plus 10 plus 3, or 27. You pass that check with flying colors. Exploding dice is where that magic comes in. Nothing feels better than getting that 10 on a d10 and getting to roll again. That's going to be the moment when folks at the table are going to stand up and cheer, and you're going to feel like a rock star. Okay, so let's talk about the combat system. And again, there's a lot to it, but I want to focus on the action point system, which dictates turn order, because I think that's where the unique and funness of this system comes in. Instead of having a dedicated initiative order that you roll once and you stick to, like most of the games we're used to, your order will be determined based on what actions you want to do that turn. If you choose quick actions, your turn is going to come up more often. And if you choose highly impactful, slower actions, ones that take longer, your turn will come up less often. Each action has a corresponding amount of action points. Maybe one player will choose to do a 2 AP aim action before they actually fire their arrow. That'll give them 2 benefits for their attack, but they'll have to wait a little bit before they actually get to fire. Maybe the next character chooses to charge directly into melee combat, which costs 5 AP. Highly impactful though. They can move a large distance and attack in the same round, although their attack will suffer 1 hardship, but they get to double their damage if they do hit. And they'll end up being a little bit unstable at the end of all that, making them a little bit easier to hit for the rest of the round. And they're probably going to have to wait a while before their next turn. Maybe the next character just wants to quickly draw their short bow or their short sword or their gun or whatever, which only takes 1 AP, so they may get to go again really quickly. The turn order is going to keep changing depending on what everyone at the table decides to do, and it adds another layer of strategy to your combat encounters. It's going to keep everyone on their toes, and it really adds this feeling of high risk, high reward to the stakes of the battle. You can take lots of quick actions to try to whittle down your opponent and remain agile on the battlefield, or you can take big, sweeping actions that may change the whole course of the encounter one way or the other. And it's those kinds of hard decisions that make games like this so much fun. Man, I wish I had time to go into all the other fun aspects of the system that are really changed the way you play. But let me just tease a few more that you can go investigate more fully on the Heroes and Hardships Kickstarter page. The system doesn't use hit points. When you make an attack, the total of the dice may hit certain thresholds, which determine what sort of injuries and wounds the other character receives, wounds that could last a lifetime. The 1's digit of your attack roll determines where on the body the hit lands, and that can change up the damage and the wounds received. So each attack becomes much more meaningful than just like doing 12 points of generic nondescript damage and moving on. Magic is also really fun with the traditional magic or the superpower system. There are also spell surges, which can cause unexpected results if you happen to have a lot of explosions of your dice rolls, with multiple tables detailing the results based on what skills you are using to cast those spells or powers. You'll find that traditional magic is flexible, while your superpowers are what they are when you get them. Traditional magic is cheaper to acquire, and the superpowers cost more to get. But traditional magic can be much more difficult to cast. Powers, on the other hand, are relatively easy to get off, so there's a lot of trade-offs there. Seriously, go check out the Kickstarter page and the free Quick Start guide to get all those little nitty-gritty details to see what appeals to you. As for the Kickstarter itself, there are early bird rewards if you back in the first 48 hours. Depending on which tier you back at, you can get things like a 55-page adventure taking place in historical Scotland, where you can team up with or fight against William Wallace. You can get a pack of fantasy characters that you can use as an arch nemesis for your campaign. You can get a compendium of vehicles to use in your adventure, and you can get combat reference cards, and you know we like combat reference cards around here. Each Kickstarter has different tiers that you can back on, and for Heroes and Hardships, you can get the digital PDF of the core rulebook, all the digital stretch goals, and your name in the credits for just $20. For $50, you can get all that plus the hardcover book, all the physical stretch goals, and all 28 of the Earl of Fife's PDF adventures for various systems. For $75, you can get all that, plus the ability to get all those Earl of Fife adventures, where available, printed and shipped to you at cost. For $100, you get everything above and the 20-plus page GM Notebook Volume 1 in both digital and physical formats. And this notebook includes optional rules, including Power Level 4 play, guidelines for converting 5e monsters to use in your Heroes and Hardships games, and more. And finally, for $500, you can get all the future Earl of Fife digital releases and the option of getting them printed and shipped to you at cost. And of course, like all the best Kickstarters, there are stretch goals. Depending on how much the campaign raises, they can unlock more fantasy adversaries, more sci-fi adversaries, more equipment, more art for the book, expertly designed solo rules for the system, a pre-written dark fantasy adventure by Runehammer of Index Card RPG fame, a GM screen, and more. The book itself is 248 pages long and in full color with lots of interior art. You can even get a free 18-page sample of the book on the Kickstarter page so you can take a look at it for yourself. And as always, Kickstarter is not a store. You are funding the creation of a book. Now with Heroes and Hardships, the book is almost already completed. I have seen the whole thing. The expected fulfillment date is February 2023 for the digital version and October 2023 for the physical book. There's always some inherent risk with Kickstarter, so go check out the complete campaign to be sure this is one you're comfortable with, but I'm only going to tell you about the Kickstarter campaigns that I am confident enough to back myself. Heroes and Hardships seems like a really flexible and exciting rule system for those of you who are ready to try something new and innovative. While the system draws inspiration from some established games, I think it does a great job of making itself feel distinct and relevant and forward-thinking. I am really excited to try it out at my own table here next year. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section down below, and be sure to use our link in that doohickey down there or in the corner of your screen up there if you'd like to check it out. Using our links lets them know that we sent you, which helps keep us on the air. If you have any questions too, please let me know. And if you're new to me, my name is Theo, and I'm the co-proprietor of the Gallant Goblin on YouTube, where we review TTRPGs and minis and terrain and more. And I'm also an Emmy award-winning adventure writer myself. You can come chat with me and the Gallant Goblin crew over on Discord and see all our latest happenings on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. For now, stay safe, have fun, love each other, and I will see you next time at the Gallant Goblin.